Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, what is up? What is good? The king of lightning, here today, bringing you guys and gals a fresh cut and the glory that is Hunter x Hunter, Togashi Yoshihiro's Hunter x Hunter, chapter 362 review. Yo, Theta, dude, the last pages of this chapter. I mean, like, this Nen Beast was in her face. I'm like, what the fuck is it? Yeah. Run! Initially, when she first saw it, she was like, oh shit, sweating. But there she is staring at the fourth prince, just bug-eyed, because this thing, his Nen Beast, is just scoping her, staring her down. And then it gets freaky when like the mouth opens. I'm like, what in the... What? And, oh, no. This guy learning Nen he's a threat to everybody. He is a massive threat to everybody. Like, it was a female body that had like high heels but kind of looked like a horse, and like it had some weird, you know what, okay. We will cover all of that relatively soon, so let's go through the usual step by step, the pacing and the chapter structure, the characterization and the story progression of this week's chapter of Hunter x Hunter. Now, first and foremost, for this chapter, we have the pacing and the chapter structure, and in this chapter there are, relatively speaking, 7 parts. Number 1 is Bill and Kurapika talking about the parasitic Nen Beast, and relatively speaking, talking about things that we already knew for the most part. Number 2, the 4th prince and the 5th prince. Her name, I can't really say either. It's like Tube or Tube something. I'm not gonna bother. They discuss in the main ballroom area where the princes and the king mainly congregate, and the king is also there watching as these princes talk amongst themselves. But the princes that were in the ballroom in this chapter that I mainly focused on were princes 4 and 5, definitely, and then 1 through 3. Part 3 for pacing and structure is that we shift over to Theta and Sarkov, 2 bodyguards of the 4th prince's personal army, and they are talking to each other about how to tell the prince about the Nen Beast while not going down the path of teaching the 4th prince Nen itself, but then ultimately realizing that they can't really escape that reality. So we'll get more into detail about that later on, obviously. But that is the 3rd part of the chapter structure and the pacing. The 4th part of the chapter is that we have 1 page of, I think his name is Lazarus or Lazarus, the 7th prince. And the 5th part of the chapter structure is that we shift over from Lazarus to the 6th prince Ison. Then the 6th part of the chapter is that we shift over to the 8th prince Sail. Then the 7th part of the chapter is that we shift over to the 9th prince Hulkenberg. Things, ooh, yeah. Hulkenberg in a wee bit of trouble, but we'll get into that later. And then finally the chapter ends off going back to Sarkov and Theta as they meet up with the 4th prince. So there are 8 parts, not 7. There are 8 parts when it comes to the chapter structure and the pacing of this chapter. There's a lot of parts. Most of those parts towards the end are like 1 or 2 pages, but they are still individual parts of the chapter. So there is a lot when it comes to the chapter structure and the pacing. There is a lot there, especially when you compare it to your average shonen. Oh, for damn sure. Now, the second part of this chapter review, the character portion of this chapter. And we're seeing a few things when it comes to the characterization of Theta, when it comes to the 5th prince, the 6th prince as well, the 8th prince. There are many things to talk about when it comes to the character portion of this chapter. So let's go. Now, the first thing for character, when it comes to the princes, involves some characterization for princes 1, 2, 3, and 5. And this takes place early on in the chapter. The 5th prince, Tube something, whatever her name is, she talks to the 4th prince about how they should form an alliance. And during this dialogue, she mentions that princes 1, 2, and 3 are too ugly to be king. She mentions something about these princes 1, 2, and 3, that she herself finds so ugly to the point where they need to be purged. They need to be purged like the goddamn movies. And for the character part of this, it is simply put, Benjamin is too arrogant, Camila, the 2nd prince of Kaiken, she is too greedy, and the 3rd prince of Kaiken, Zhang is too consumed by luxury and excess. So according to the 5th prince, these are some character traits of the princes from 1 to 3, and this is the reason why, in her mind, they are ugly, they are unworthy of being king, and they need to be purged. And on top of that, while she's talking to the 4th prince of Kaiken, we get to see her character scheme and how she operates. We saw previously, when we first saw her, that she was working with test tubes, so she is a scientist or a doctor of sorts. Not too sure exactly where she fits in that, but she is clearly someone who is centered around knowledge. All right, that's her thing, knowledge. So we did have that notion about her previously, and now when we see her and how she views Princes 1 through 3, and especially Prince number 2, Camila, because Camila and her, they share the same mother. So the second prince, Camila, and the fifth prince, Tube something, they are blood sisters. Not half sisters, they're blood sisters. And yet she thinks that she needs to be purged anyway. So when it comes to character, we're getting a lot for the fifth prince of Kaiken. Number 2 for characterization is gonna be the fourth prince. But the fourth prince, not directly, we're getting characterization about him from Sarkov and Theta, when they talk about the fourth prince and how they're trying to find a way to interact with the fourth prince without driving his curiosity to the point where he wants to learn Nen, which ultimately is like the end result here. But we find out more about his character, and I'm gonna read to you what they say on page 11 of Manga Stream when it comes to his character. Now, normally I would show you the page, but I got a feeling that if I do show you the page, considering how it's Hunter x Hunter, I may get a copyright strike from Shueisha, so I'm going to avoid that. And this is Sarkov talking to Theta. How will you explain this to the fourth prince? I can't say his name. There are phantom beasts crawling all about that ordinary humans can't see, so don't leave your room. How about that? Then Theta responds, that's full of taboo words. For example, ordinary is one word that you absolutely can't say to the prince. Can't see also carries a nuance implying that there's something that the prince can't do, so it's also out. Besides, Phantom Beast is liable to drive the prince's curiosity through the roof. Saying don't leave your room is pretty much the same as saying get out. Then Sarkov responds, I can't do this, I'll just leave it to you. Then she says, if I explain it to him, he will undoubtedly ask me about Nen. The problem is, if honestly answer and tell him about Nen abilities, he will most certainly want to acquire them. So when it comes to the prince's character, we have an idea as to how he will react to certain words based on what Theta and Sarkov are saying. So if Sarkov says ordinary, you can't call the fourth prince of Kaiken ordinary because he's gonna feel a certain type of way, and that may lead to a whole host of issues. Now, number 3 for characterization correlates with number 2, and this is mainly for Theta, where Theta, because she's able to perceive how the prince will react given certain code words, given certain taboo words, it appears that she has a fairly good degree of insight. She is able to perceive certain things that most folks, like example, Sarkov, she calls him stupid, but the guy's not really stupid, because after they have this initial talk, Sarkov is then the one that tells Theta, well, why don't you teach him that anyway, but then try and work around that. And she agrees with what Sarkov is saying. So Sarkov isn't stupid, but when it comes to Theta, she seems to have a much higher degree of insight than normal people. At the time being, it only really applies to the fourth prince, and then a bit for Sarkov. But Theta is a fairly new character to the story. We saw her briefly before when the prince was talking to her on the phone. All in all, she is a new character to the story. But already, you can kind of see that she does have fairly good insight. Number 4, in the same respects of number 3 and number 2, Sarkov and Theta seem to be fairly good. Okay, I can't say good, but when it comes to their desire to not teach the fourth prince of Kaiken Nen, because they understand fully that he will use this Nen for unspeakable evil. He's the Aku of Hunter x Hunter, and he wants to make his future law. That is the fourth prince of Kaiken. And they understand that teaching him Nen is a really, really bad idea. For the nation, for the folks on the ship, it's a bad idea, period. So even though there is bodyguards, they are trying to formulate a strategy, a plan of action to prevent the prince from learning Nen, or at least not being able to use the full scope of Nen. Try and diminish his Nen capability. So it shows you that Sarkov and Theta, for the time being, we can say that they're good people. You haven't seen anything from these two characters yet that would indicate otherwise. So for character, Sarkov, Theta, so far, they're good people. Now, number 5 for character is that we're gonna jump all the way to when we first see, and the only time we see, the 6th Prince of Kaiken, Tyson. Now, the unknown Pokemon-ish Nen Beast that we saw in previous chapters, they are her Nen Beast. And if you forgot, Izunami is one of the bodyguards of Tyson. Tyson, she's all giddy about it, like, well, what do they look like? And then Izunami says, well, they look kind of like fairies. And she's all giddy about it, like, oh my god, fairies, my mind is blown, crazy. That's how she operates for the time being. And it appears that there's something that is like laying these weird unknown-ish Pokemon Nen Beast, and it looks like some kind of cloud that's over her head. So there is like a main Nen Beast that is popping out these smaller Nen Beast. And what that main Nen Beast is, we don't know as of yet. Now, number 6, when it comes to the character portion of this chapter, is the 4th Prince of Kakin, and we get to see more of his Nen Beast, the freak that it is. It looked like a weird brontosaurus horse like girl thing that wears high heels and has like spiked nipples, and it was just weird. But then it's even weirder where it's able to like extend. It's able to extend its neck. This guy, the 4th Prince, must have been like 20 feet from where Sarkov and Theta were, and his Nen Beast extends its neck all the way from where he is to where they are, down the hall. Just face to face with Theta, scoping Theta out. And keep in mind this, the 4th Prince of Kakin has this thing with women. What exactly it is in detail, we're not too sure, but the guy is extraordinarily messed up. We know that the end result of these 2 random girls from a club going to his room were them getting killed, and for some reason this guy was covered in their blood, like soaked, naked in their blood. Why? I don't know. But that's pretty damn weird. And on top of that, previously in a page, in a chapter, we saw some guy drawing like a tattoo on some girl that may have been dead. Knowing him, probably was dead, but we're not too sure. But this girl had like her hair done and her arms were like this, and it appeared to be like a spider tattoo being drawn on this girl's back. Not too sure. This guy has a thing for women that is like just warped and twisted. They have to be intelligent too. That's a key thing. Like they need to know about Beethoven and Shakespeare and all types of shit, whatever. And Theta, we can clearly tell, is a very smart woman. The Nen Beast may have reacted to her the way it did because the 4th Prince reacted to her in a certain way. Outwardly, he was glad to see her. Oh, here comes the secret weapon. But what he's thinking, who the hell knows? And the Nen Beasts are merely going to react to things like the thoughts of their host. He reacts a certain way, then the Nen Beast reacts a certain way, extends the neck right into her face, and then after like the drool and the growl, its mouth like opens up, and then there's like a smaller girl's head in the head that has like a tongue, but then the tongue split apart and like there's eyes on like the tips of the tongues. It's like, dude, what the fuck is happening, dude? So the weird girl horse brontosaurus thing is now also like a robot. Like what? Like I don't, how? Why? Togashi. Like like how did Togashi come up with this? Like I don't understand. Like this thing is a freak. He saw like a bunch of horror films and sat down and talked with Miura, and they discussed ad nauseum how freaky can he make this thing. The thing is freaky. By far the freakiest Nen Beast we've seen among all the Nen Beasts. Granted, some of them outwardly look just as freaky, but we've seen more of the 4th Prince's Nen Beast. No. When you have a woman's head that is already on the tip of like a brontosaurus neck, it has like a horse-ish body that has like rings around like the midsection where like the waist would be. Something that I think is coming out of like the girl's rectum, like a tail type of thing, but it's kind of weird. That has high heels, like spiked like sword nipples. And then the face opens up into like a robot, and like there's another girl face inside of the face, and then the face has like a tongue that splits apart and has eyes. Like, no, what? Oh no. This guy is on a league of his own, man. He's out there, all right? And after she sees that, Theta comes to a very clear and obvious conclusion, which would, I think, in the future mean that her and Kurapika team up because they both realize, yo, this guy, no, he's extra bad news. And then finally, for characterization, the 7th part of characterization for this chapter, we get to see the Nen Beast of most of the princes, with the exception of a few in this chapter. We get to see the Nen Beast of Lazarus, or Lazarus, whatever his name is. And so far, no real big impression as of yet. It looks like some kind of like insect type of creature, and it has these small angel wings on the sides. We don't see the full body of it. Then we go over to the 8th Prince of Kakin, Sail. Now, his Nen Beast, Sail's Nen Beast, is like a ball with just mouths on it, and it's spewing out like some type of liquid from the mouth, and it's floating. It appears, I'm not too sure, but it appears that there are smaller Nen Beasts. When Kurapika and Camp Wobble were being bombarded by Nen Beasts, We also saw these weird type of jellyfish-ish Nen beasts. And I'm not too sure, but these spheres that we see in this chapter that are around the Nen beast of Sail, the 8th Prince of Kaiken, they appear to be very similar to those previous sphere jellyfish-ish type of Nen beast. I'm not too sure. Potentially speaking, the Nen beast of Sail, the 8th Prince, and the Nen beast of the 6th Prince, Tyson, they may be very similar to where they breed smaller beasts. In fact, the 12th Prince, her Nen beast, also has a smaller Nen beast that can go inside people's ears and control them. So it looks like a lot of these Nen beasts are multi-layered. Kind of similar, I guess, to someone's emotions where they have different layers to them, obviously. Now, I also want to say here that the 8th Prince of Kaken does not care whatsoever about the war. He has his girls, he has his pizza everywhere, and the man's just chilling, all right? To me, he's kind of leading the good life. Then going all the way back to the beginning of the chapter, we get to see more of the Nen Beast. We have the Nen Beast of the 5th Prince, where her Nen Beast is like kind of like a bullfrog chameleon type of thing that has like spikes or like tubes on its back, and then it has 6 spiked wheels instead of legs, which is interesting. Then we have the 4th Prince's Nen Beast, which, yeah. Yeah. Then we go over to the 3rd Prince of Kaken, Zhang, and Zhang's Nen Beast is so far a wheel, but like the edges of the wheel seem to have hair on them. I'm not too sure, but that's what it seems so far. And then on top of that, in the wheel, there's a face, like in the middle of the wheel. So like a wheel monk from Neo, or many series and like Japanese folklore, just a wheel type of thing, like a wheel demon creature. However, the face has like a plus sign on its forehead, and the rims of the wheel seem to be decorated with some type of cross or plus sign. Now, when it comes to the 2nd Prince of Kaken, her Nen Beast, it's like a tree or a flower. Where the tree trunk would be, it has scales on it, as opposed to like tree bark. But then it's kind of like floating. The basin of it has no roots. It's like some kind of like weird flowing silk-ish type of thing, whatever. And then finally, we have the Nen Beast of Benjamin, the 1st Prince of Kaken. His Nen Beast looks like it had never skipped leg day, ever. This thing has thigh muscles of a lion. It is insane how muscular those legs are. But it's an insect. It has claws out of the end of a very long arm, and its mouth really wide open, almost like a One Piece character. That's it when it comes to Nen Beast. So I don't really want to show the panels because, again, I will probably get in trouble with Shueisha if I don't region block Japan, which I kind of don't want to do when it comes to reviews. You can go and reread the chapter for yourself to get the full scope of what I'm saying here. These Nen Beasts look weird. The 12th Prince's fuzzy animal thing, Momose's, and Hulkenberg's, they look fairly normal by comparison to the rest of them. Seriously. So, that is for characterization. And finally, we get on to the story progression. That's right, people. We're not done yet. The story progression of this chapter. And the story progression of the chapter is the longest part of the chapter. And this has a total of 9 parts to it. So, number 1, which actually is kind of like number 1 through like the entirety of the chapter. Kind of. According to the 5th Prince, the real battle for the throne will take place between princes 1 through 5. Tyson, Lazarus, whatever his name is, Sail, they don't really have the means to see it through. They don't care about seeking the throne. Hulkenberg does not care at all. He's already withdrawn. And when it comes to the princes 10 and up, so 10 through 14, they're too young to have any real influence. So the real battle is going to take place between princes 1 through 5, according to the 5th Prince. So that is confirmed, yet not confirmed throughout the course of the chapter. So that's the real reason why this part kind of cascades throughout the entirety of the chapter. So it's kind of like the first part, yet it is also one of the last parts of the story progression. When you look at it from that perspective, that would kind of be like the first part of the story progression, like version 2. So the first part of the story progression would actually be the meeting between the 4th Prince and the 5th Prince. They have formed an alliance of sorts. They touch glasses like we agree. And then the 4th Prince and the 5th Prince, they will reconvene next Sunday. But the 4th Prince does mutter under his breath, if you're alive, that is. So that is the first part, the first actual part of the story progression. Number 2 for story progression is the King of Kaken, Nasubi, talking about the Nen Beast. And what he talks about specifically when it comes to the Nen Beast of the princes is this rule-like instinct. So it's on page 8 of Manga Street. I'm going to read most of that page to you right now. And I quote, "Guardian spirit beasts born from the pot are all imbued with the same rule-like instincts. 1. Spirit beasts may not kill one another. 2. Spirit beasts may not directly attack a human whom another spirit beast is protecting. These are self-controlling instincts needed of the Nen Beast that will guard the future king. Beasts with nothing but claws and fangs can only await their swift demise. The same is true for humans. In political and military strategy, indirect actions are essential. Those that are unable to find and act upon the weaknesses of their opponents are simply mediocre at best. For the spirit beasts that excel in providing back-end support to attach themselves to a king who overflows with the ability of foresight and careful, deep planning, that is the magnificent destiny of the Hyogoro family." So what he says there is very important stuff, because the Nen Beasts themselves cannot, again, A, attack one another, and B, cannot attack another host of a Nen Beast. Which means that in order for a prince to die, a Nen Beast, which is founded on the emotions and the desires and the personality of the host, that Nen Beast must indirectly control other people around it. A clear example of this would be the bodyguards of Camp Wobble. So the Nen Beast of the 12th Prince of Kaiken, Momose, the stuffed animal Nen Beast, would control Cyrid, and potentially by controlling Cyrid, it could have killed the 4th Prince Wobble. It cannot directly attack the 4th Prince Wobble, nor can it directly attack the Nen Beast of the 4th Prince Wobble, but it can still kill the 4th Prince Wobble if he's able to control someone like Kurapika or someone like Bill, and then when Bill or Kurapika's not looking, they stab Wobble, or they kill Oito, something of the sort. You see what I'm saying? So that could be one of the things that the Nen Beast of the 4th Prince of Kaiken was trying to do to Theta, where it was scoping out Theta to see if it could manipulate Theta in some way, shape, or form to then use against other princes. The princes themselves will not be attacked directly by the Nen Beast, but the bodyguards themselves may be manipulated in some way, shape, or form, especially if they know Nen, because they can be used, and potentially their Nen powers could be used against an opposing prince. That is the end result there when it comes to the dialogue that we see on page 8. And we learn clearly a lot more when it comes to the Nen Beast system that is taking place at the moment between the princes. Now, part 3 for story goes along the same lines of part 2, but it's at the end of the dialogue of page 8, which I didn't read to you. The king says this: "On this ark, which has been loaded with 200,000 offerings, they should be able to cut through to their heart's content. According to the King of Kaiken, the 200,000+ people on this ship can be used in any way, shape, or form against any one of the princes. And it is up to the Nen Beast to utilize one of these people. So it could be a Zodiac, it could be a Phantom Troop, it could be whoever. If the Nen Beast can't control that said person may be able to make their way up into the top floors of the ship and kill one of the princes. And it looks like that was the main prerogative of the king when it comes to bringing in so many people. These people can be used by the Nen Beast in some way, shape, or form to then kill another prince. Now, how exactly will this person be able to actually get onto the upper floors? Not too sure. So could you imagine someone among, let's say, Jin and Parison's group getting controlled by a Nen Beast and then causing chaos and havoc on the lower floors, somehow making their way up to the upper floors to kill a prince, and then how that would affect Jin and Parison and their goals to get to the Dark Continent? If you lose one of your specialists because they're being controlled by the Nen Beast, that's going to massively hinder your plans to when it comes to going into the Dark Continent, let alone if they're a Zodiac, or Phantom Troop. Like someone like Phaeton being controlled by one of the Nen Beast? Oh, I mean, just the possibilities. Oh no. So let's get back on the story here. Number 4 of story is Sarko and Theta being the only 2 people of the 4th Prince's private army to use Nen. Number 4, easy, straight, and simple. Number 5. According to Sarkov, the bodyguards of the princes heard about the Nen beast, the parasite Nen beast. They heard these words through the emergency channel. And I believe that was when Kurapika and Camp Wobble were first swarmed with all these Nen beasts. Kurapika, in order to communicate with Basho, with Melody, with Izunami, with Hanzo, he used the emergency channel. So it looks like Kurapika, because Camp Bobo was being swarmed, he used the emergency channel. So essentially it was like a mayday or like an SOS. All the bodyguards heard that, and the bodyguards have all come to the conclusion that the princes are not going to be aware of what Nen beasts are. So it looks like Kurapika was the one that kind of kicked it all off because he used the emergency channel to talk to his fellow hunters. Number 6 of story ties into Part 1, Version 2 of the story, which was the 5th Prince of Kaken talking to the 4th Prince of Kaken, stating how the real battle for the throne will take place between Princes 1 through 5. She was right, yet she was wrong, because it looks like the 7th Prince of Kaken, Lazarus, whatever his name is, he is targeting her. So when the 4th Prince of Kaken muttered under his breath, well, that's if you're still alive by the time I see you next Sunday, the 5th Prince of Kaken is already being targeted by the 7th Prince of Kaken, Lazarus. So she assumed the real battle between 1 through 5, but in reality, it looks like number 7, he's putting his foot in the ring, and he's targeting her off the gate. However, when it comes to part 7 of the story, the 6th Prince of Kaken, Tyson, and the 8th Prince of Kaken, Sail, they don't care. Sail in particular does not give a damn. Maybe the 6th Prince cares, maybe. At this point in time, we don't really see that. But Sail, the 8th Prince of Kaken, does not give a damn for certain. So, does that coincide with what the 5th Prince said? Yes. But at the same time, no. Because the 7th Prince is taking action, and he's targeting her off the gate. Number 8 for story progression. The 9th Prince, Hulkenberg. Something's happening. All of his bodyguards appear to be either A, asleep, or B, dead. I think it's the former. I don't see any blood or anything of the sort. And Hulkenberg right now is kind of panicking because, wait, hold on, what's happening? What's this? Oh, it looks like one of the Nen beasts, for some reason, has taken upon themselves to attack Hulkenberg's bodyguards. Now, there could be a trap in place, but the Nen beast of Hulkenberg should be taking immediate action at this point in time. Hulkenberg right now is in danger, and this thing is going to do something. What exactly, I have no idea, but it's going to do something to try and save Hulkenberg. Like I said before in the previous review, Hulkenberg is going to dip. Dad said, all right, fine, kudos to you, but yeah, that may mean sayonara Hulkenberg for good. And it looks like we're going down that route right now. You will be missed, bruh. No! You will be missed, Hulkenberg. Because I don't see you making out this alive. I really, really don't. So that is part 8 of the story. And now, finally, part 9 of the story component of this chapter is, simply put, this. Theta and Sarkov, after talking about the situation involving Nen Beast and the 4th Prince learning Nen, they come to the conclusion that they cannot prevent the 4th Prince from learning Nen. Initially in the chapter, the only thing that they could hope for was Theta teaching Nen to the 4th Prince in a way that would diminish his Nen capability. So let's say that he was a manipulation Nen user or a transformation type of Nen user. Well, then they would teach him in the complete opposite of what his foundation of Nen is. So they would teach him in admissions or reinforcement, something of that sort, so they can mitigate what he could truly accomplish as a Nen user. Because the end result here is if he did truly learn Nen, his Nen would be used for extreme evil. So Sarkov and Theta, they're trying to figure out a way how to diminish that evil. So that's why they're good people for the time being. However, later on in the chapter, after she gets sized up by the Nen beast of the 4th Prince of Kaken, she realizes, no way in hell. There's no way we can let this guy learn Nen, or at the very least, master Nen. So it looks like Theta, maybe not Sarko, but it looks like Theta, at some point in the future, her and Kurapika may team up because the 4th Prince of Kaken, the guy is too much of a threat. He is too evil. And mind you, she understands now, but Kurapika does not. And Kurapika states that he won't kill him because when it comes to the guys he's gotten the eyes of the Kurta clan from thus far, he has not killed a single one. But this guy may need to kick the bucket for good because he is that sick. He is that twisted. And because of his innate curiosity and how he operates as a whole, he will eventually learn Nen. Eventually. So either again, you try and mitigate that, But right now, Theta's mindset is, nah. Can't even risk it. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that is it for this review of Hunter x Hunter. This week's chapter had a lot. This was not a slouch chapter. And that is one of the main reasons why I don't do live reactions for Hunter x Hunter. There's so much in Hunter x Hunter. Those videos will probably be around an hour and some odd long. And on top of that, when it comes to editing those reactions, that's a week-long process. Shit. That being said, guys and gals, I am done. There is a lot for story. There is a lot for character. There is, when it comes to pacing, the pacing has a lot too. I would say overall, you're establishing a lot of very important things. When it comes to who's targeting who, when it comes to the 4th prince, when it comes to the 5th prince, when it comes to the 7th prince, when it comes to the 9th prince, it is setting up and it's also establishing many things at once. And I don't want to go through it all again because we already did that kind of stuff. But the chapter rating overall is going to be a great. So I'm going to see you cats later. Be sure to rate the video. It is not that hard to do when you have a device called ZayMouse. You use ZayMouse to click, rate the video, to click, subscribe, motherfucker. Of course, you click on that bell to join the squad, and of course, comment in the comment section down below. Peace, and have a nice goddamn day. The 4th prince, man, this guy.